welcome back to our PVSS classes, weekly classes for our PVSS clients through this YouTube channel. I am so happy to be back with you guys. We've taken a break after the last 10 weeks of the series that we did. As a reminder, we did do two in the classroom. So you have 8 videos that you can go to watch, and you can talk to staff. They will provide you with those links. And so we're starting a whole new series now. We're going to be having 10 weeks of classes. I've been doing some one-on-ones with some of you there, and I've really been enjoying talking to you all. Again, if you need a referral, you need to talk to your staff. If you need to do some counseling, these times are really difficult right now to do in-person counseling, and some of you have reported that you've been having a hard time getting a counselor to help you with some one-on-one time. So we are doing it by telephone, and all you need to do is check in with staff, and your case manager can provide a referral to me. I'm Naomi Chavez, and I am your teacher for these classes. So this 10 weeks, you know, we've been talking with the staff and coming up with what we were going to be providing for you in this new series. And we're going to be focusing on substance abuse and relapse prevention. And so I want to do a little bit of orientation right now. The way we're going to be doing these classes is that every week you will receive a link. You will check in at the channel, and you'll be able to watch the weekly video. You will take some notes, and then you will provide a one-page essay on what you took from the class for that week. You will turn that essay into the staff there at PVSS, and that will be your accountability. So we would like you to watch the classes weekly and to turn that in every week. So right now what I want to do is I want to do a class with you on relapse prevention skills and why it's important. You know, a lot of you are struggling with stress, anxiety, and we've been talking about those things in the one-on-ones. Also, I've been doing check-ins with you and realizing as we are talking that some of you have gone through some counseling or had just started counseling. You weren't able to finish that counseling. So during this time, you know, that we were thinking was only going to be a short time, that we were going to go back to the classroom and be able to do some group work in the classroom. We're not able to do that yet because we are now months into this and we're still not able to meet in person. So until further notice, the classes will be done this way, you know, virtually through the videos. So I wanted to get right into the why are relapse prevention skills important. Relapse prevention skills are essential to learning to live a happy life in recovery, one day at a time. And we can learn to implement these coping skills to prevent relapse and to live a life beyond our dreams, you know, meaning that you can get to a point where you can leave behind pretty much the lifestyle that you were living at one point if you were dealing with drug use or alcohol use. Sometimes it might not be you. It may be a family member that had been involved with the drugs and the alcohol use. But this 10 weeks, we're going to be really focusing on issues that have to do with substance abuse, stress management, and relapse prevention, whether it be how it affects the family, how it affects you personally, and how you can overcome and cope during this time that we're going through also. Recovery from alcohol or other drugs is a process of personal growth with developmental milestones. At any stage of recovery, there's always going to be the risk of relapse. And that's our main concern with our clients, is that you guys make it through this program. You're able to maintain your housing that you're being offered at this time. You're being given the opportunity to be able to have a safe place to live and to be able to save some money while you're working, help you with working skills, develop, you know, some consistency in your sobriety, and receive all of the resources that you can get as far as, you know, parenting tools, you know, and counseling, and just everything you need to be able to set yourself up a good foundation. Remember, our class is called Strengthening Families for a Better Future, and that is what we aim to do with these classes, to offer you some tools, some education that will help you strengthen your family for a better future. So recovery from alcohol and other drugs is a process with personal growth. And any stage of recovery, there's always going to be a risk of relapse. Making relapse prevention skills very highly important to know and understand. Some of the most common triggers for relapse are the things I want to talk to you about. So we're going to mention some of these triggers, and these may include things like we need to be watchful for things like boredom. You know, when you become bored with life in general, and if it's been recent that you've been in your recovery process, it is a possibility that a lot of your time was consumed around the lifestyle of using alcohol or using drugs, and now you find yourself, you know, transitioning into a new lifestyle, and it might be difficult to find new things to do that would keep you busy, you know, from what you used to do before. So boredom is something that you need to watch for, because it's considered a trigger and it can lead to a relapse. Because when you find yourself trying to figure out what to do, you know, your mind may want to take you right back to doing the same things you used to do before. Number 2 is stress. We need to talk about, you know, and remember that stress is also a trigger for relapse. So we're talking about relapse prevention, how to prevent a relapse. So stress can be a major trigger for a relapse. And if you want to stay clean and sober, continue on your journey of sobriety, it's going to be really important to manage your stress very carefully. In the last 10 classes that we offered you, you were able to learn some skills, you know, around stress. So you can go back and watch one of those videos that deals with the stress, and work on your coping skills for stress. Another trigger is money problems. You know, many people find themselves, if they can't find a job right away, or their job is low pay, they're falling behind on their bills. You know, the money problems contribute also sometimes to trigger a person, because remember that drug use, alcohol use is part of a self-medicating process. It's a stimulating yourself. It's an avoidance behavior. It's a coping mechanism, you know, a negative one, but people use it to cope with life. So remember that when you're going through these sorts of problems, you got to examine how you're feeling and talk to somebody about it, because money problems can be a very stressful situation that can lead to a relapse. Relationship issues. You know, when your things are not going good in the relationship, whether it be in the couple, or maybe you're having problems with your children or your adult children, relationship issues are another trigger that could lead to relapse. Certain sights and smells. You know, there's things that early in recovery, when people are in their early days of sobriety, you know, there's a lot of times there's certain sights, certain places, certain smells, you know, that can trigger a person to use again. Especially, you know, for example, I was working with an alcoholic in recovery at one point, and back then this person used to frequent often bars. And in the bars, you know, they would smoke and they would drink, and there was the smell of the cigarettes, there was the alcohol environment, the dim lights, the noise in the bar, the music, you know. So every time this person was in an area where there, you know, there was smoking going on, and, you know, maybe there was background music or it was dark, they would always start to crave alcohol. And so there are a lot of certain sights and smells with the use of any type of drug. And, you know, I want to say that if any of you are in recovery right now, in one of your essays that you're going to write, I would like you to put on there, if you remember certain sights and smells, or you identify to that in any way, comment on your page that you're going to write what that experience is like for you. So we want to hear about that too. Anger is also a trigger. So this is why in these classes we want to talk about stress management. We want to talk about, you know, and set you up with doing budgets and learning how to manage your money. We want you to learn to have good relationship skills, and we want to offer counseling for those that maybe you're in a relationship or you're a couple and you need some counseling, because we want you to be set up and have a strong, you know, foundation for your recovery. Certain sights and smells, anger. Most alcohol and drug treatment centers, they usually educate clients on relapse prevention techniques, and they help clients learn them in order to maintain recovery and achieve, you know, the short-term and long-term goals that they place. So what are short-term goals? Those are the goals that can be achieved in a short amount of time. So you have a beginning time, and by such and such date, you're going to achieve these goals. And the long-term goals, pues, it's just, the longer ones. So you're going to give yourself maybe from now until a year, what you plan to do. And so what they usually do is they help people learn how they're going to be able to achieve those goals and maintain them. So we want relapse to not be a part, of the recovery as much as possible, although it can be. There is a common misconception that relapse prevention skills should only be used when someone is having a desire to use. However, relapse prevention skills should be implemented into each recovering person's daily schedule and the routine to prevent or reduce the risk of their cravings. So I'm going to talk to you about a few relapse prevention skills that are very helpful. So tip number 1, self-care. We talked about self-care in another video also, but here, the common symptoms when somebody is recovering from addiction can be things like insomnia, fatigue. We know that Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Services talks about that these are common potential triggers for relapse. So by implementing things like physical exercise, a balanced diet, you can improve the quality of your sleep, and it helps with the stress. And this can be done by setting up and following structured sleep and exercise and eating schedules. By doing this, you can retain a good recovery and sobriety process, and you can also retrain your body to sleep better, and you will also help reduce the risk of your relapse by doing so. Now, some of these things are going to sound repetitive because when we were talking about food issues in the other class, when we were talking about specific alcohol issues, we were talking about specific stress management things, you're going to find that, probably in every single one of those videos, self-care is going to be mentioned. So self-care is super important thing to learn because you apply it across the board. So that's why, when we mention these things, and in the other videos you also would hear, we were saying structured sleep, exercise, eating schedule. So here we're hearing the same process again in order for you to be able to do some relapse prevention. When I was studying for taking my substance abuse training classes, I remember that we talked about Halt, and I retained that and kept that because this is a really good way to describe number 2, the point, which is Halt. It's an acronym for hungry, H, angry, A, the L from lonely, and T from tired, the word Halt. So whenever you're feeling a craving to use, or in a general feelings of anxiousness, or you're just feeling off, you need to ask yourself if you're feeling any of these symptoms. So you can use this tool of Halt to ask yourself, it's Halt meaning like stop, and ask yourself. The most common triggers for many recovering alcoholics and addicts are usually hunger, anger, loneliness, and feeling tired. So by doing a regular inventory or a Halt, you can prevent the risk of relapse. So let's go on to another one. So number 3, another tip is mindful meditation. Mindful meditation is a concept that teaches individuals to become more self-aware. When we're more self-aware, we are better able to cope with potential triggers or relapse. So we have found that significant improvement has been seen in individuals in recovery who follow mindfulness meditation. Relapse prevention programs, versus those who do not use mindful meditation, we're able to see a difference. The individuals using mindful meditation remain clean and sober longer and reported less cravings and increased awareness and acceptance with mindfulness meditation. Participants are encouraged also to learn to roll with their cravings rather than fight them. Acceptance that cravings will come is a learned skill through this practice while implementing relapse prevention skills. Concepts such as acceptance, letting go of personal control, and even the use of prayer. You know, I've been talking to some of you on the one-on-ones, and you say you use meditation, you use prayer, and all of these things are great ways to cope, and also are going to help you greatly in the relapse prevention. And all of these meditations of mindfulness meditations are a simple practice way to develop, you know, yourself to be stronger and to be able to face, you know, the triggers when they come and they hit. Sometimes just repeating things to yourself, you know, mantras they call them. You know, I'm well, I'm okay, I'm going to be fine. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful, at ease. May I be happy. You know, any kind of mantra is also very helpful to just repeat it, you know, 3 times while you gently are reminding yourself, you know, and taking a deep breath is a form of meditation also. So whatever form of meditation works for you. The core concept of this mindfulness is just paying attention, awareness, or focus on what you're doing, where you are, who you're with, and more. So starting this process and becoming more mindful simply is noticing what you're doing with no judgment upon yourself. It can be helpful to write down your daily activities and tracking it with, you know, on your phone, or, you know, you're writing it down, keeping it there, or in a journal, a daily journal. You know, people still journal these days, an actual notebook and a pen. Point number 4 that I want to talk about is knowing your triggers. Triggers can be internal, things like anxiety, irritability, stress, anger, low self-esteem, or they can be external, people, places, or things that remind one of their past use. Making a list of internal and external triggers is an efficient way for you to gain awareness. So, you know, this week, what you can do also is to write down, you know, some of the things that, if it was in the past, you know, what triggered you, what were the things or the places, the people, you know, the things that triggered you to use in the past. Keep a list in front of you so that you know these are your red flags. These are the things that you need to watch for. And I'm going to mention it one more time: anxiety, irritability, stress, anger, low self-esteem. And right now it's a little more difficult to be part of support group, but I know there are some online support groups. And so, you know, getting support from others, participating regularly is point 5. So, you know, participating with a support group such as Alcoholics Anonymous. I believe they're having meetings still, and Narcotics Anonymous provide, you know, that they can provide support, accountability, education, and the ability to meet with others who understand what you're going through. So it also further prevents relapse, as it decreases the feelings of loneliness and the risk of isolation. So both of which can be common triggers for relapse. Point number 6 is grounding techniques. Stress and anxiety are often the biggest obstacles when it comes to recovery. So a helpful relapse prevention technique is grounding technique. It's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So coping technique. It takes you through 5 senses of focus on the moment and avoid thoughts of using alcohol or other drugs, anxiety, negative self-talk, and any other unhealthy thoughts or feelings that may lead someone to want to use the escape. So, you know, and this is how you do this. I'm going to give you this technique. The 5 steps begin by taking a few deep breaths, and then you follow them by these following things I'm going to mention right now. So first, you breathe in deep, and you take a few deep breaths, breathe out, and then you follow it by acknowledge 5 things you see around you. So if I were to do it here, I'd look over here, say water bottle, you know, plant, telephone, tablet, papers. So look for 5 things around you that you see around you. And then you acknowledge 4 things that you can touch around you. You touch the paper, touch the phone, touch the tablet, touch the plant, touch the water bottle. Acknowledge 3 things that you can hear around you. So you quiet yourself down and you listen for 3 sounds. Next, you acknowledge 2 things that you can smell around you. I can smell my perfume. And where I'm recording from, I could smell some food far off. So acknowledge 2 things you can smell around you. Then acknowledge 1 thing you can taste around you. And in this exercise, with a long, deep breath, focusing on your senses will help you gain self-awareness and increase mindfulness, which will help you accomplish daily tasks, overcome unhealthy thoughts or feelings, and you can feel more in control and less overwhelmed and reduce the risk of relapse. Point number 7 I want to give you is deep breathing. I was just doing this with one of you on one-on-one on the phone the other day. So deep breathing. Breathing is central to life. As you know, what many do not know, however, is how much control you have over your life by simply changing your breathing patterns. So breathing is not only connected to various essential functions throughout your body, but it also has a large effect on your brain chemistry. Breathing greatly impacts your emotions and helps regulate your overall mood. This is why deep breathing is so essential with one's mental health. There's that connection there. So deep breathing releases those neurotransmitters in your brain, and many of which trigger feel-good chemicals, resulting in you more relaxed, feelings of happiness, and even pain reduction. So deep breathing and the resulting increased oxygen flow also encourages your body to exhale all the toxins. A useful deep breathing technique is the 4x4. So take 4 deep breaths in through your nose, hold, and release 4 seconds. You should feel your diaphragm moving in and out while you breathe. Deep breathing is an excellent relapse prevention technique because it can be utilized virtually anywhere without anyone even knowing you're doing it. You could be sitting in your car, you could be, sitting, waiting somewhere. And I actually use this very often. And you just sit and you take a deep breath through your nose and exhale it. And I was doing this technique, like I said, with somebody on the phone the other day, and they were like, wow, like it's magic. But try it. I really do recommend the deep breathing, to help you release anxiety, stress, and ground you. So make an emergency contact list is my point number 8. When an urge comes, it could be difficult to manage it, especially in the beginning of recovery. A very helpful relapse prevention skill is going to be making a list of healthy family members or friends who are also in recovery and that you can call for support. Having a safe person to talk to can help you get past the cravings and remember why you do not want to return to your previous behaviors. So keeping that list on you at all times is important because it's readily available resource that you can use quickly by calling someone safe. The support network is the number one thing. When I was doing a lot of work in the substance abuse field as a counselor, we worked very, very consistently and making sure that our clients had that support network. So we'd sit down with them and talk about it and say, who could you call if you're craving? Who could you call if you're stressed out? Who could you call, if you're not able to sleep at night and you just need someone to talk to? Someone that's going to understand you. When you do the 12-step program, we used to tell them, when you go down there, make sure you partner, with somebody that's going to help you through your program's going to help you and be there to support you. We call them a sponsor. So that support network is very, very important. And number 9 is play the tape through. If you find yourself having a desire to drink or get high and you're debating what to do, a great tool is playing the tape through first. To play the tape through, you must play out what will happen in your mind until the very end. So what you do is you need to imagine what will happen in the short and long-term future if you decide to drink or use. Think of the consequences that would occur if you used versus if you did not use. It's kind of the pros and the cons. And this can help with your decision making and reduce the risk of relapse. And my last point that I'm going to give you in this class is number 10, get help. Always get help. I can't stress that anymore. This is why we keep stressing, if you need to talk to someone, if you need to do something. So the fear of relapse can be very debilitating. And however, it does not have to be when you are fully prepared with a toolbox of healthy coping strategies. When you're learning, when you're coming here, you're taking these classes, you're watching these classes, you're really, really educating yourself, strengthening yourself for a better future. Those are the kinds of things that are important and fundamental for you to be able to do relapse prevention. Implementing these relapse prevention techniques into your daily schedule will greatly help reduce the risk of relapse. So this is what we want to do. We want you to learn more, about relapse prevention and substance abuse and all of the issues that have to do with substance abuse. We don't want any of the clients, relapsing and then losing, all of the things you've gained until now. So please, please, we do ask you if at any point, you're feeling any of these things we mentioned, these triggers, you're feeling any, feelings of, remember the halt, let's look at that just one last time. I want you to remember, that's an important one. So I want to just, go over that with you one more time before the end of this class. And if you haven't jotted it down, I would like you to go ahead and write that down. So HALT is the acronym for hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. So whenever you feel stressed out, whenever you feel, you're thinking about using again, I want you to stop. I want you to halt, and I want you to ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? What do I need to do for self-care? What do I need to do to take care of myself? You have got to do it. Nobody's going to do it for you. Some of you have worked hard to get to where you're at right now. You've put in the work. You've done everything you know to do, and you don't want to throw it away over a craving. So remember, this is about relapse prevention. This is class 1 of 10, and I look forward to seeing you all next week on here as I bring to you another class for strengthening families for a better future, PVSS. Thank you.